part of the Earglue Media family of podcasts.
You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 308, The Rise of Ben Solo. We are finally here, continuing our coverage post The Rise of Skywalker. We've had a chance to give our initial breakdown of our reactions after seeing the movie. We've had one show now where we've got a chance to take a look at Rey's character in the movie, and we are following up with the next biggest character, arguably, that being Kylo Ren / Ben Solo. And here to do this with me is none other than the monster, truly the monster himself, Mr. Mike Rondo. Mike, welcome back to the show, sir. Jonesy's out on vacation still.
Yes. It's good to be back to talk about, actually, I would say arguably the best character in the sequel trilogy, in my opinion, which is Kylo Ren. The most interesting, I would say, out of all the characters, because a lot of the new characters fall flat for me, personally, but I get why other people like it. But Ben or Kylo, whatever we want to call him today, we'll call him Ben, right? Because it's the rise of Ben Solo.
Yeah.
I think his character was pretty interesting. And actually, that's as much as I criticize The Last Jedi, I thought he was done very well in The Last Jedi. But in any case.
Yeah, no, that's and we'll talk about that, because I think that's it's kind of some of the criticism that we'd given last week when we talked about Rey and whether she'd been upstaged or overshadowed in some way. And it's a great character played by an amazing actor who's obviously he's up for a Golden Globe tonight as well.
Oh, well, look at that.
So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, let's get on to the Star Wars news, and then we'll get into Mr. Ben Solo. That sounds terrible. Clone Wars. So rumor is this is coming. So the rumor is that it's coming.
It's confirmed.
Here's the thing, though.
Okay.
And maybe you've got more recent knowledge, but I could have sworn this morning, we're recording this here on Sunday. I don't know what day it is. Whatever it is. The 5th. Yeah.
Yes.
And when I logged in this morning, I saw that the website where they originally had gotten that information had been taken down.
Oh.
And so there was questions about whether or not that was released ahead of time or the date's now slipping or changed. Do you know anything about this?
I did not. I assumed because it was in a video and it said premieres, I think, on the 17th, February 17th.
Yeah. In the video. So let's just go with the facts.
Well, it sounds about right when they would do it, right? Middle of February. I figured that would be about right. I'm surprised it's a Monday, though.
Yeah.
Which maybe the Friday would have been better. I like the Friday with the Mando and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe this is off. I'm not sure. But for the sake of argument, let's just go with the 17th.
Yeah, go with the 17th. I'm fine with that. I don't want to spread rumors that aren't obviously validated, but yeah. Anyways, I'm excited. It seems like with Mando, there really hasn't been a whole lot. I think we've gone back and started watching some of the Mando episodes over again, which has been kind of fun. But beyond that, they're really, the Resistance is the only thing we've got on TV. So let's get this over with.
Oh yeah, it's funny. We need more content of Star Wars on. It's funny we even say that because there is a lot of content.
There's a lot already. Yeah.
For Disney Plus, though, we don't have anything really new. I mean, The Last Jedi just hit, right? But I'm not going to watch that all that much. My daughter was watching it yesterday, though. But yeah, we do need more, and it's kind of a long gap between The Rise of Skywalker and this, in a way, really, right? When we've had The Mandalorian the last month and a half,
2
right?
months.
So it's kind of like I'm lost. I don't know what to do.
Exactly. Yeah, and the other, and sorry, not to spread rumors, but the other thing I saw recently here was that there's possibly another season going on. Do you think there's any truth in that one?
I don't think so. No. I'm going to say no. I think Dave, the way he talked at Celebration, but you never know. I mean, I'll say that. There's always something possible because they need content, right? I just think they're done with it now and they're going to move forward. And Dave got to put the bow on it, and I think he's happy and at peace with that. And I think he's going to move forward into something. Now, we'll get something else. I think that'll be in the works, as we'll get to in a minute here with one recent rumor. But as far as Disney Plus shows go, I think we're going to get an announcement soon anyway about an animated series that's going to happen probably next year or something. That's just my speculation. There's no truth to that. But I don't think we'll see another season of the Clone Wars. Now, you may get a movie later on down the line
or some special or something, right?
For the like the Clone Wars movie, but on Disney Plus or something. So, but anyway,
right? Yeah, no, I'm with you there. So, that's our opinions, anyways. I think we're getting this one last season, and we'll be done with it, and it'll be fine because this is a great way to end it, and I just want to see the Siege of Mandalore more than anything. I mean,
especially after the Mandalorian. Yeah. I
mean, I can't wait. I'm just so looking forward to the tiebacks and callbacks and stuff like that. Looking forward, or what would they be? I guess they'd be call forwards. I don't know. Whatever that is.
To be honest, I don't know what we would call that. I don't know. Flash forward, I don't know. It's all connected.
Sure, Easter eggs. Let's just call them that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we'll obviously be covering the Clone Wars final season here, starting right after February 17th, if that date holds to be true, and obviously breaking down as much as we can on this show. So, looking forward to all of that. And we've already kind of talked about this, but man, The Mandalorian's over. Season 2 season 1 finally had its final premiere episode, and I know you've had a chance to cover that on Mando Mondays already.
Yes.
Maybe we can come back and talk about the series as a whole on this show or something. But
the
good news is, right shortly after, about a week after that, we started getting information from the man himself saying season 2 was scheduled for fall of 2020. That being Jon Favreau. We have Gamorrean guards, picture of him, little scantily clad Gamorrean guard there.
Well, he seemed. Is this did he survive the Sarlacc pit? Is this? I mean, not the Sarlacc pit.
No, that's not him.
Is this the Rancor one? Like, does he cut himself out of the belly and
his head was taken off?
Wow, technically, I don't know. I mean, he seems taller than what I'm. It's just the statue, of course. So who knows? He looks like a giant, really, but that's just the way the statue is. I don't know what this means at all. It could be nothing. Either. It could be nothing at all. It just John wanted that on his desk. Like he talked about the Razor Crest at Celebration, or maybe Dave wanted it. I'm not sure. But I was a little sad it was for fall of 2020 because, like I just said, we have to wait. That's kind. I mean, it's time. What 10 months really?
Yep.
It just seems like it forever. Maybe because the show was so good and you want to get to it right away. But I had hope because what is it? WandaVision? They've moved up that date, so maybe they'll move it up.
There's
a little.
Chance. It could.
There's a chance. I don't see.
I'm thinking November.
I'm saying October, man. October.
Well, you're way more optimistic than I am.
I am because it's my birthday month, so I'm going to go with October.
Got it. So October, November, I think we can expect to see that. Going back to that Gamorrean guard, he's a lot thinner than the ones that we saw in Jabba's palace, and I made the joke that that's most likely because
he's the Hulk.
That one, he's not at Jabba's palace just chowing down on Cheetos all day.
Well, he doesn't look. He's ragged, so maybe is he not eating? What's going on there?
That could be it too. He's just right. Malnourished in some way.
Yeah.
But then he also teased that we were going to get other established characters.
Oh, yes. This is
in season 2. And this has led to a number of, I mean, you name it. Everybody's already suspected that they'll be back.
I've hinted a few possibilities on Mando Monday.
Give me some of the ones you've got. That I have. So for those of you that don't listen to that show.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of you, actually. I don't blame you because my last few episodes were horrible. But because I was off, as I said, my system is... My setup was all thrown off, and I was all thrown off. But anyway, that's no excuse.
You're too kind. But go on.
But anyway, I said Ezra. I think which will be the biggest key, Ezra and like Sabine, and you might get Ahsoka, which would be nice. Now, my fanboy side wants like Luke somehow to get tied into this, because he's connected with Yoda, right? Well, so is Ahsoka. Right. I don't know if that'll happen. Like, because I had mentioned, well, could they de-age Mark Hamill? I got into it a little bit. I forget who I did with on Discord, where I said, well, you could de-age him and do the CGI version that you had in like the Rise of Skywalker there, which would be interesting. But I'm not sure we're gonna get that. I'm not sure they just ended the Skywalker saga. Do they really want to go back into that? Dave probably would if he could to kind of tie that all in. I'm not sure, but I think like Ezra is probably a good way to go because of figuring out the Force. The problem is the Force sensitivity of Baby Yoda there, right? And Luke's the established Jedi at this point. Ahsoka's another one that was a former Jedi, and then you got Ezra who's still around, right? So how's that going to work out? You know what I mean? And Ezra's off in the unknown regions, right? So something's going to go. I don't know. But of course, Boba Fett, I threw him out there because that's obviously Boba Fett at the end of that. In what was it, episode 5 or chapter 5 or whatever that we saw walking or that was a hint to him. Will we get anything resolved? I was always in favor of like, all right, this is your one hint, knowing that he's alive and we're not coming back to that. So, that was like a little nod to the fans there. But I don't know. What do you think? I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, those are all the kind of I don't know about Ezra as much as I want that. That would be kind of cool. But I think Boba Fett's a given. I think they've teased that enough. I think they've told us indirectly what season 2 is going to primarily be about.
Oh, finding really truly is home.
Yeah, finding his home or finding Force sensitive users to kind of pass them on to. And I think it probably ends or gets really close to ending that second season with him going away finally. Excuse me. Although I say that, but they also kind of played up this fact that he's now a foundling as well. So, could we have another Force sensitive foundling? And, I've been saying all along from the very beginning when the show was announced, I said, hey, this guy's going to have the Darksaber at some point and reunite Mandalore, bring back the plans and all that. But I'm wondering now that what if it truly becomes a future story that they get to tell where they've got a baby Yoda character who's now grown up. They flash forward. Yes, he has a Darksaber and he's, much like the original.
So, baby Yoda, maybe he's the next bad. Maybe it's him. Maybe he's the next Palpatine. I don't know. That would be interesting. I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that plays into that whole thing from the prophecy about being hidden in an egg and when it hatches and all that.
I'm not going there, sir.
I know.
I'm not going there. There's only one.
You message me, guys, if you want to hear more about that theory.
Yeah, talk to Albert about that whole stuff because I don't buy it. That whole Suga thing or whatever it is, but they do have a lot of avenues to go next season, and even though I'm very much we need to get rid of Baby Yoda because I think the novelty is going to wear off. It's still interesting how they tied it so it's like still compelling in essential even for me. Like I'm still curious where they're going to go with this, right? So they did a very good job for season 1. I look forward to season 2.
Yep, and toys are already coming out. I've seen some pictures of those released today. And
the Yoda Rita, you can get your Yoda Rita and watch the Mandalorian now. It's good stuff.
Yoda Rita,
yeah,
I saw that too.
Yeah, I might have to find one of those. I'm not a margarita guy, but I would try that.
All right. Well, segueing into the other characters that we've just mentioned, there's Dave Filoni on Christmas Day released a small sketch, and it's a picture of Gandalf next to Ahsoka, and it says, "People thought I was dead. Dead too. Look how that turned out." And that came about because there was a lot of talk, obviously, after the end of The Rise of Skywalker was released of, we heard Ahsoka's voice when all of the former Jedi, quote, former Jedi or the Jedi of past, or using air quotes on that one, started talking to her to get up and at the very end of The Rise of Skywalker. So that led to a lot of speculation as to whether or not Ahsoka was still alive. Had she passed? And I think this is Dave Filoni kind
trolling
of saying,
all
hey,
of us.
Don't
again.
don't rule her out in any way. But how did you read this?
I took it as, okay, well, it's Dave likes to poke fun of us fans with Ahsoka. Remember, he had this shirt, Ahsoka lives with a question mark. Then he put on Ahsoka's lives with a, so I see this as like, maybe we'll give you the answer one day, but probably not anytime soon. If you can bring Ahsoka back, like, Gandalf style, then you better bring Luke back. That's all I'm going to say. Because something in my mind just didn't work out right. But that's a whole other show and we won't get into that. But I'd be fine with, she coming back because she's technically not a Jedi, which I kind of have a problem with. Like when she's talking to Rey is like she renounced her being a Jedi. Now, did she become, and I even speculated, I think in Discord where I said, did she become a Jedi again when she spoke to Luke? I still want to see her seeing Luke and having a philosophical debate about the Jedi and all that stuff in the Force, and even Leia as well. I'd love to see that whole interaction. So I hope we get that in an animated series or something, or book or anything like that. I definitely want to see that. So again, Ahsoka is an interesting character, and I don't know, wherever he goes with it, I'm curious to where it goes. So I took it as she was dead at that point when they were all dead because everyone was dead that was speaking, right? So, because the evidence is what? Ezra's not saying anything. So correct. He's probably still around because he's old, but he's not, old like dead time, like old, but he's old.
Exactly.
But anyway, what are your thoughts on this?
No, I'm with you there. So, just to get down to brass tacks, what we were trying to determine was whether or not she was truly dead in that moment, because some of the folks are saying, well, she may not be necessarily dead, but was able to commune with Rey from, wherever she is in the galaxy in that moment or the universe in that moment. And I subscribe to the idea that she is and has passed on. But I took this little message from Dave Filoni as in I've got bigger plans for her than that although she may be gone and now a Force ghost or whatever she is going to come back at some point, or at least in his mind, he would like that character to come back. So
yeah.
I don't know when that is. It may not even be a series. It may not be anything that we are even alive to see. But the idea that she is still able to kind of transcend from living to dead and then dead to living in some way, I think.
Well, Yoda was pretty much, interacting with physical things like in The Last Jedi. So who knows? Things are changing, right? So we'll find out at some point, right?
Yeah, yeah. So all excited about that. Can't wait to see more of her and Rebels 2, which...
Oh, that ain't happening.
Yeah, we'll see.
No, that's not happening.
Let's talk about this. What? Yeah, okay.
No, it's not.
It's not going to be called Rebels 2. Sure.
No, but it's not Rebels 2. It's not happening. But anyway,
let's talk about the
the other
release the JJ cut.
Yeah, which is a bunch of nonsense. It's more. I'll give you this. I think Rebels 2 is more real than this. The JJ cut. This is a little. I'm a little annoyed by this because there's probably several cuts in a movie, right? When you're editing. To get things where you want them to go, because you got to cut things off to narrow down the time and the pace and all that other stuff. I don't see JJ having his own cut or the JJ and Lucas cut, because I don't think Lucas was involved as much as everyone thinks he was. I don't think that happened. So I think it's a bunch of BS, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, and I will probably be a little more tactful.
Well, that's because you're a gentleman.
No, I'm
not.
Just kidding. I don't buy this at all. I'm sorry. I know, and what I said is a lot of this is we're kind of in that stage of loss and grief for some folks, and
I've been there.
This happens. I mean, it happened with The Last Jedi. It happened when the prequels came out. People will go into denial and they start talking about, well, this probably existed, that probably existed, and it's just part of coping, really, more than anything. It's how we cope with things, regardless if it's Star Wars or the loss of someone or another TV series or you name it. That's just one of the things, the phases we go through. But the idea that there is a JJ cut, I'm sorry, guys. I just cannot get into that. I can't get behind it. I don't think there is. Like you said, I think there's definitely footage that ended up on the cutting room floor. We know that. If you go back and look at any of the interviews leading up to The Rise of Skywalker, a lot of these actors are saying things, and there's things that have been written and down from them, from what they've said, that does not align with what we saw in the movie. And that makes sense. That's not uncommon. That doesn't mean that there is another version that's out there that exists. And even if there were, the suspension of disbelief, let's just assume that there was another version out there, right? The only instance, and I'll probably defer to Josh and Joe over on the Film Appraisers, because they're probably better at this than I am. But at least from what I recall, there have been very few instances ever where there's been another version of a movie as big as this that was released. So even if there was, the idea that we would somehow see this or ever get eyes on it is just infallible. It's not going to happen. The only thing closest was the Richard Donner cut. And that only happened because after, 30, 40 years, people were petitioning, trying to get that version out there. And you had the director himself saying, I have another version. I came out and said, now if JJ comes out and says, yes, I have another version, then fine, we're all in, right?
Yeah.
But until those words are uttered, there's no real reason to believe that there's another version out there, as much as you may want it to be true or feel like it is true. The version that we got is the version we got.
There's two things I want to say. One that fuels this is the whole people on YouTube and blogging and podcasting saying there was several endings. They don't do that. That Star Wars never does that. There's no screenings or anything like that. So all that's a bunch of nonsense. I'm sorry. It just is. The other thing is I've read what supposedly is JJ's cut, and that doesn't sound any better anyway. So, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. We're not going to belabor this one.
No.
Until JJ says something else.
Exactly. He could come out and say there's something tomorrow, and I'd maybe edit this podcast and say, hey, we were wrong. Move along.
Right. And then lastly, I know we've had something else that just came up here very recently. The High Republic. The High Republic has been rumored.
Stupid name, by the way.
Nothing official.
Yeah.
But allegedly there is the next series of movies takes place during a timeline that would be about 400 to 500 years prior to Episode 1, during an era called the High Republic. And if you recall, in Dooku: The Last Jedi, they made reference of, quote, the High Republic during that time. So this isn't the first time that we've heard that name.
Yep, still a stupid name.
And then they've also said that there's a high probability, I guess, again, rumor-wise, that we would see Yoda, obviously at about, what would that put him, 300 years old?
Something like that, yeah.
And that he would be featured in this series in some way. Now, the other thing is to note here is the movies aren't necessarily going to be connected, but the next batch of movies just may all take place in that era. Or
so it's kind of like MCU in a sense that, like, you know, Captain America intertwines with the what's his face, like Iron Man or something like that, something similar to that. That's those stories kind of came together at some point in the past. Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think about this? Are you excited about it? Apart from the name, I know you don't like the name, but apart from that,
well, that's like ASI, BSI, or whatever it is that the story people came up with for the event of Starkiller Base before and after, which is stupid. But anyway, bitter, but I had to get my shot in because it's been bothering me. But the High Republic, it's kind of a silly name in my opinion, but that's fine. Name aside, I don't have a problem here. I just wish they'd go further back with more Jedi and Sith, because this seems more like a continuation of Episode 1, where the Sith are in the background meddling and causing problems, but we're not getting that direct fight. And maybe you will get a direct fight, like, say, with a Jedi and a Sith, but the Jedi obviously is going to have to die, right? So there's going to be no surprises at the end. So I don't know. I'm okay with it. I'm curious about it. I'll say that. I do want them to go back in time as opposed to going forward time. Although there's a lot of stuff like post Return of the Jedi I want to know, and even sequel trilogy stuff after the sequel trilogy I want to know too as well. I really want to know that. But here, I just wish they went back to 1,000, like right to that point where Palpatine says, "I won't let this Republic fall that stood for 1,000 years." Like, I would like to know what that whole mindset was back then, like at that point, right? But that's just me. I don't know. What do you think?
That's where, and so you're touching on two things that, I guess, two opinions or thoughts here. One, it conflicts with that line in the movie, and I think it's the other one that happens in the Jedi Council where they're talking about it's been 1,000 years since the Sith were around.
Yep, and I pointed that out in Discord. Yeah. So I mean, if they're saying the Sith have not been around for 1,000 years, and yet this takes place 500 years before, and they're saying that is going to involve Jedi and Sith, then either they're going to do a major retcon here, or we're going to get one of those things from a certain point of view kind of things, right? Which annoys me. That annoys me. I know. Like, we've done that enough. Come on.
So much now.
We've done that. We've overused that just for bad storytelling. That's my opinion of it. But I am curious to see younger Yoda. So, I mean, there's that right there that intrigues me. However, I still rather go, if we're going back in that time point, right? Let's get to that 1,000 years where that conflict kind of ended or began, like that whole rigmarole, right? Like that whole drama that happened there. Let's sort that out, right? But that's just me.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the first, I guess, I wouldn't say issue, but the one thing that I've got a question about is the timing wise on it. And the second point I want to make was, it does feel safe enough that they could it feels like they've gone back enough. Like 500 years seems, I wish they would have gone 1,000 or even further. But it's still 500 years. 500 years allows you to get to play around in Star Wars world and not have to worry, right, and be tied to anything that happens in, Episode 1 or anything that's going to happen with the Skywalker saga or beyond that. So it is safe. So that does give me a little bit of relief. I think we're going to get some pretty good juicy stuff that they're not going to feel like they're chained or beholden to any of that stuff. So I think that's an plus side is that's
which we've always
going to be a benefit.
We always said on the show, like, go back to the Old Republic because you're free from a lot of saga stuff. And so I'm excited. I'm intrigued. We need more information I can't be too critical or too, up in the air over a few lines that were said in Revenge of the Sith or Attack of the Clones, right? I can't be too crazy, right? So I'm open-minded to it. I'm curious. I think this ties in with Project Luminous. So we'll find out soon. I hope within a couple of weeks we find out anyway.
Yeah. We'll hopefully get no more here. Again, only rumor at this point, but it was Jason over at Making Star Wars, and
usually accurate. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's enough news, man. That went a little bit longer than normal, but there was some good stuff in there to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's get into our main show, where I thought we'd take the same approach that we did with Rey and just kind of break it down, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and then kind of talk about final steps, or at least next steps for what we think could possibly be in line or in order for Mr. Ben Solo. So let's start at the very beginning, because this was, the movie opens up and it's, we feature Kylo Ren immediately fighting there on Mustafar, which was kind of cool. They don't really mention that in the movie, but if you've seen the visual dictionary, you know that he was on that planet that we see here in the opening sequence, and eventually makes his way out. He gets the Wayfinder, heads out to Exegol, and we're immediately, he finds out a couple things. Number one, Palpatine is the one that's been in his head the entire time. So that being Snoke and Vader and I don't know whoever else. Well, that's the list that we know of right now, that they've been in his head this entire time. And Palpatine makes him an offer that says, I'm going to increase your, the
Empire,
might of the First Order, and now he's calling it the Final Order and all that. And I said, the question that I have really is, why did we feel like Kylo Ren, or at least the First Order, needed the additional forces? Are they being just greedy and the more the merrier, or do you feel like there was something going on at that time that he felt like they absolutely needed the might of this Imperial Navy that Palpatine had hiding out there?
I can say, I've always said the First Order was kind of weak. I really can't take them that seriously, but Starkiller Base was a big loss, right? Sure. What happened on Crate was kind of big as well. And then even at the beginning of The Last Jedi, right? The dreadnoughts were taken out and stuff. So I think they're hurting, they're limping, and there is a lot of star systems out there, right? And then you saw the Sith fleet that was amassed, which was pretty darn big, right? And then it's a matter of greed anyway, right? When you're evil, you want more anyway, and you want power, and you want more. The more the merrier for me, because I can hold on to that power indefinitely in my mind, right? So I think that's kind of where they were going. But again, that whole thing is a little weird to me. But I will point out, because I've always said this seems like this wasn't mapped out or whatever. But when you look at this, where we have the First Order, then you hear the Palpatine says the Final Order, it seems like, yes, this was planned in one aspect. As I said on, the last show, I said there are some points where you say, oh, it was planned out. And then there's other evidence to say, no, this seems like it wasn't planned out. So I just want to mention that. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think there's definitely things like this that feel like, oh, that seems natural, and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And then other stuff does feel like it was kind of shoehorned in there for story purposes. But all right, no, I'll take that as a fair answer. I mean, I guess I kind of saw it that way too, that they aren't the extreme power that they may have been at the beginning of The Force Awakens, and that they are licking their wounds to some extent. But
interrupt you. Pride even says Starkiller Base, that whole thing, like that was a loss. It seemed like they'd mentioned, I can't remember exactly what he said.
It was him, yeah.
So it's kind of like reaffirming this is why we need the fleet. I guess if you sit back and watch it, you're like, oh, okay, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And he's got a moment there where, he's got a moment there to take out Palpatine, and it came across as though that's what his intent was to go out there and do all that, right? And then he backs off of that. Again, do you think this is simply because he didn't want to kill him and not have that fleet?
Or is this more to find out about Rey and to get Rey more on his side?
Yeah, that's another angle.
Because like the way Palpatine talks to him, it sounds like Palpatine obviously was going to give him the answer, but he thinks that Ben knows the answer. Now he's confirming the answer to Ben, so now he can lure her in. You could look at it that way. I don't know. It's that whole thing, as cool as it was when he went down there and everything, and he was like ready to chop him up there with the saber and everything, and then he backed off. That was a cool moment, but I don't know. A lot of that, even at the end with Rey and Palpatine, that whole kill me, don't kill me, now we're gonna fight. It's wonky to me, and again, I'll have to watch it several times and kind of like, okay, now it makes sense, So I don't know.
Well, I think one thing is clear. I believe Kylo Ren, at least, that he had every intention of taking this fleet, doing what he needed to do, and then eventually he was going to try to off Palpatine in some way, right? I take him as word that was going to happen.
But did he, did he, all right, so he goes in with the intent to kill the Emperor, but then when he hears him say, I created Snoke, blah, 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 and does all the voices of, he's a voice actor now, Palpatine, Steve Stanton would be proud, where he's saying, well, wait a minute. So if he can do all this, maybe there's knowledge that I can gain from this partnership. So obviously I'm not going to kill him. Plus I need to solve this whole Rey thing and what I'm going to do there. because I think Kylo was kind of planning as well. And I think even like my criticism of The Last Jedi aside, one of the cool things was I always felt like when you look at that film in The Force Awakens, that Kylo was planning to kill him all along and had this in his mind of what he was going to do. And he was a lot smarter and tougher than we gave him credit for at that point. So maybe he was plotting doing something else at this point as well. I'm not too sure. This is something I'll have to digest later on when I watch all three and kind of sit on it. But I don't know.
Yeah. So for the sake of, so the one thing that this one does feel a little bit jarring for me, but and I get it. It's for the sake of moving the movie along and the narrative and all that, but it just doesn't feel like, knowing Kylo Ren, given where he was, in his character at that point in that movie, that hearing that all those voices were in his head, right? You think about the relationship that he had with Snoke. We're starting to see some of that in the comic books.
Yeah.
You think about the relationship and maybe the personal conversations that he had with Vader leading up into this, right? We know he was obsessed with all of that and had a number of those. And to hear suddenly that all of that was not real, he seems to take it really well. It doesn't even seem like any of that bothered him.
I think he thought because when Palpatine supposedly sends out this not an SOS, but this message to the galaxy, I wonder if Kylo's putting it all together. And he kind of figures it out. Like I said, I thought Kylo, when you go from The Force Awakens to even the Last Jedi, where he takes out Snoke there and everything, and everyone's all shocked about it, I think he's been planning this for a while, which goes to the line, I'll finish what you started, meaning I'll kill the Emperor and all this other stuff. So in my mind, maybe he already figured it out. I don't know. It's very much a mystery that we're all going to have to digest for the next several years on the show and everything. So I don't know.
Yeah, and then that's kind of how that scene really ends. I mean, he tells him to go kill the girl and the Jedi, and he says, become what your grandfather could not.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways to take that. You could say that become a Jedi, become part of the light side, or bring back the love of your life. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. So that was a pretty deep quote there.
Would it have made more sense, like when we hear Vader, if we'd had Vader's voice speaking to him in The Force Awakens there, would have been better now? Like it would have been like, oh crap. Like, cause we would have been all speculating, is Anakin alive? Is Vader still around? What's going on here?
Yeah.
But then when we hear Palpatine say it, we're like, oh, it would have made like there'd been a better connection. I don't know. Just something to think about. I get
it. I mean, sometimes that works. I think there's a lot to say where
you don't.
There's a lot to say about you don't show it, right? Yeah, exactly. Like you just tell it and let us kind of figure it out.
Yeah, which is what George did a lot of. So, and I like that, but I don't know.
In this movie, they did kind of spoon feed us a lot, like almost too much. We didn't need to have everything, like the Snoke heads, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh,
the
look,
Snoke lights. They would have. It's like it was like a lava lamp. Snoke.
It was.
We got to get on that. Someone's got to make a lava lamp with Snoke in it. That would be cool.
Great idea.
That'd be cool. We got to make millions there.
Let's go move on in Act 1. I call this the rise of Kylo Ren, but immediately after that, he decides to go back and have his mask rebuilt,
which is funny.
I have the question of why. Like why? I've got some. Well, I've got reasons, but what did you think?
The
when
technical
you saw this?
reason was because the cut wasn't really tied to it. I think it's a JJ cut. Kidding. Yeah. No, but I thought it was funny. They're all just looking at the guy from the Planet of the Apes, like welding the masks together. Because I immediately thought of Planet of the Apes when I saw the creature. And I thought it was fun. I don't know why. I was just like laughing because I was thinking of the old days when my mom would watch Planet of the Apes. And I'm like, oh, that's what made me think of it, because now I'm showing my age. But they're looking at him just welding the mask. And I'm like, all right, why are the Knights of Ren there? They're just like kind of looking around like, hey, this is how we do this. Cool. Yeah, I don't know.
So that Albrecht is the name of that character in the you don't get this in the movie, so I'm going to give you some context here. But
okay, very good.
In the visual dictionary, Albrecht is he's like they don't call him a simian, they call him like a simiog or something like that. Well, basically,
does that tie into like what we see in Rogue One with the people with the half heads and the whole visor thing? Because that's what it kind of reminded me of when I saw it. In the theater.
No. Well, I don't know. No, I don't know. I can't say one way or the other from the visual dictionary, at least what they give us.
Okay.
But that's a good idea. I hadn't thought that. Consider that. But anyways, he is actually, he sits and lives, or at least it rides around with the Knights of Ren. So his role in all of this is he repairs all of the armor for the Knights of Ren and for Kylo Ren. and then there's a character in the Knights of Ren. I forget which one it was. He's in charge of repairing all of the weapons.
The lead
and
singer?
does the weapon designs. Yeah, the lead singer. So whenever they go into battle and they need their stuff fixed, they bring it to this guy. So this guy's got some really, steady hands and I don't know, whatever else he does. But that's what his whole job is. Of course, they don't explain this. All you see is a monkey repairing his helmet. And you're like, what's going on here? So they ride around in this thing called I think it's called the Night Buzzard or something. That's the name of their ship that they show. That
Really?
They don't ever explain that that's their ship. Yeah.
Well, that's.
Anyways,
they got to get their exhaust system. They got to get their exhaust system fixed on that thing too, because it's just smoky.
It's so loud.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what's going on there. but
anyway. But so the idea. So going back to the question of why the helmet, and to me it feels like it's a step back in the character. Like if whether you liked it or not.
He took
I
the
felt
helmet
like
off,
we took the helmet off. We moved past that. We weren't going to come back to it. Going back to it, in one way, is cool because my kids loved it. They thought it was really cool to see the helmet back, and it looks different and all of that. So visually, I get why they went with it. But and the only thing I can do is give the writers the benefit of the doubt here, and I will, in saying that I think what they were trying to do is show that this character was still in denial, even though he probably knew right that he had moved on. It was the fact that now he felt like, okay, I'm back into this role of being subservient to this higher power. This higher power is the emperor. Oh, look, my grandfather did this. He wore the mask. You know what? I'm going to rebuild the mask. I'm going to put it on and pretend that this is who I am again, even though deep down inside, he knew he was no longer that person anymore. Like he had moved past all that. He was his own self. And
was it also to show Rey, like, I will kill you this time, or like I'm not who you think? And she even calls him out on it in a sense, right? So, I don't know. It's interesting. I think it was more of like, let's show the symbolism of like, he's trying to get back to like squash out any light of Ben, so to speak. And so he's repairing the helmet and he's fractured anyway, right? Like mentally he's fractured or whatever. So
right.
It could be something like that. I'm going to go with that. That seems to be the most logical. It's a symbolism type thing. And not only that, the helmet, I think maybe for him, because he's trying to internally figure out what he's really going to do. Having that mask on shows that, I can internally think about things and not reveal what I'm really feeling or thinking with my looks or anything. So maybe, because, he went to the board meeting there, that's how I would run a board meeting, so to speak. And, that's kind of how, yeah.
No, I say that's exactly right. Because I think that's what General Hux was probably feeling too. Like he saw him and was like, crap, I can't read this guy anymore. Yeah. And that's why he says, I sense some unease about my appearance. And he's about the mask. No, sir. Well done. I like it. And then you get that. Or that one girl was like, I like it.
Yeah, but I like it. Funny, but, oh, thank you. Yeah, I will see you in my quarters later.
Right. Let's talk about quickly the Knights of Ren. And I don't know. I really, going into this movie, I was like, man, I cannot wait.
That I probably would have cheered for. That's what
I could not wait to do like a show on
the Knights of Ren.
A Knights of Ren show. And we're not going to get to. Well, we can still do it, but it's going to be
why? 2
based
minutes
on the visual dictionary.
Well. I don't know. Maybe,
because believe it or not,
you got to put the comic book in there, the visual dictionary, and maybe a book.
Yeah.
So
we can scrap it together, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to scrap much together from the movie because, well, they really weren't in the movie. But we will come back and do it because they are interesting, and that's what I'm saying. Like that right there is good evidence. The amount of material that we have in the visual dictionary about them, I assure you, there were probably a lot of scenes that had the Knights of Ren either speaking
even the Mustafar
or doing
scene,
stuff.
I think, right? The Mustafar.
Yeah, they were supposed to. Yeah, they were supposed to be on there. So was Hux.
Yeah,
and Pride. They were supposed to be on there as well. Both of those actors said we filmed it. It never showed up.
Yeah.
So again, this stuff is filmed and it was probably there and it didn't make it for whatever reason. But anyways, but yeah, the Knights of Ren. The best we can tell, at least from the movie, is that they do follow Kylo Ren or whoever the
supreme leader
is. Yeah. Yeah. But he makes that comment about my knights and I are going hunting for the scavenger. But I thought it was interesting. He said my knights, right? Claiming ownership to them. But did we ever figure out, and maybe we talked about this in The Last Jedi when that was going on, but did we ever talk about where they went to? I forget what we even theorized.
No, we assumed they were off doing something, but they weren't around. Something. Yeah, we don't get any answer to them. I mean, there was rumors going into The Rise of Skywalker that they found something and then they came back possessed or whatever, and because of Palpatine or something. That was one rumor, I believe. I could be completely wrong on that, so don't really quote me on that. But yeah, we never got the answer of where the heck they were the last 2 movies. You know what I mean? So I don't know. There's a lot of things, and I get why people fuel the whole JJ cut here, right? Because this adds to that, right? So I don't think there was another cut. I think there was stuff that was filmed. They just didn't put it in the film. And, you get to these points where we're breaking things down and you're like, well, why don't we have an answer to that? Well, because we had other things to answer. We had things to work on, with the Skywalker saga, not the Knights of Ren here. So it would be fun if JJ came back. I don't think it'll happen because he's with Warner Brothers now, where he could do the Knights of Ren, because I know he made that comment where he would like to do a spinoff on the Knights of Ren or whatever. So again, at some point you'll have to do a show where you can do that, but it's going to be pieced through other media, I think. I don't think we'll ever get anything unless they show up in The Mandalorian at some point, which would be interesting. But
that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Let's not start that rumor, though.
Yeah. Well, no, we can. It's fine. People download the show. No.
That's right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I thought they were cool looking, but they essentially were a boy band when you saw them. I can't believe they still use that shot of them up on the thing looking around, looking like goofballs. And even when they were on the Kijimi there, it seemed kind of goofy to me. I don't know. But I think they would.
Yeah.
I guess they served their purpose, right? They would use the way they were supposed to be used in that film. I just thought, they're so cool and they were so mysterious. We'd get something, a little more background, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So,
yeah, right. I guess the only other thing about really the Knights of Ren, I'll save it for the show when we finally get around to that show. In doing that, so yeah, Vader's mask.
Yes.
Because this is one that
Is it still on Exegol, or did it get destroyed in the ship crashing?
That's a great question.
Because I don't know, did Kylo put it in the safe somewhere, and then 30 years from now, when we saw episode 10 or 12 and Rey's kids in there looking through the ship, and then we find it. I don't know. I'm speculating this. Sorry. Yeah, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, as far as the helmet goes, I don't think I remember it being on Exegol.
Well, no, it was in his ship. It was in the big ship.
Oh, right.
And Kylo in his office, his chambers, if you will. So yeah, which I thought was a nice contrast with Kylo. He's got the dark on the outside, but inside he's really good, which was what that reflection was with the white in there. Other than that, I mean, maybe it's because so he could see things. He puts his black stuff down, he can see it and grab it. So, there's that, but go ahead.
No, I'm with you there. I'm glad you mentioned that because I did have that as well. The idea that Kylo Ren was a dark side user and he was dressed in black. And then when we see his quarters, I mean, it's like pristine white. Yeah, which I think speaks to his internal conflict in itself. Or maybe he's just not tired. He's, doesn't like the lighting in there.
That's what I mean. Like he puts his saber down. If it's all black, he's not going to find it, right? So
yeah, exactly.
It's just like they have desks that are all white now.
Practical and pragmatic.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can buy a desk now that's all white, so you can see where your cords are and stuff, and it makes sense.
Yeah, this is what you tuned in for, folks. Yeah. This kind of deep analysis.
This is what you get when I come on the show.
That's right. But the idea that this was used for communing, because early on, he comes out of there and he puts his hand on that mask. And this is after he already knows that none of this is real, right? And
I have a little theory, though.
Maybe he's having doubts or second thoughts about whether he's trying to just see. But he goes out there, touches the mask, and that immediately disrupts Rey's training in some way. And, she can see him, he can see her, that kind of thing. But is there something magical, or is this, I mean,
well, no, you say that.
I said it was an artifact now. I say that the helmet's an artifact in some way.
Well, you say that they can see each other, right? But Rey doesn't see him on that. She just feels like a dark presence, and things are going wrong.
Not that time. Not that time. Right? Okay. Later on, they can see each other.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like when she's training and he's channeling the mask there, she doesn't. She just feels like a dark presence to her. And I'm wondering. My theory is here that because when Palpatine dies the first time and he goes down the elevator shaft, that we see that mist or whatever of him flying up there. Does it latch on to Vader's mask somehow? And that's how there's some kind of a dark side entity around it. And then when he's touching the mask, he's using that to mask himself to just be around Rey and, cause all sorts of trouble for her. And she also has, now I'm trying to remember here, does she have the vision of her parents being flown away and all that at that point? Like not.
She does with
a little bit, right?
She has it with the mask. Yes. When they touch the mask, she sees that. She sees Han get killed, and she sees herself. I saw it last night, as a matter of fact, and I had not seen it in the first 5-6 showings yet. But for whatever reason, last night I caught my eye. She does see herself as Empress Rey.
Yeah. Oh, she does. So you'll have to watch.
It's like really brief. They flash that one shot of her, and she looks all crazy with the eyes and everything, I think. But it's definitely her in the hood.
Okay.
In the hood.
I'll have to look again.
But anyways, go on.
Yeah. No, that's all I had. Like, that's why Kylo is using the mask, is because he's using whatever dark side entity to mask himself to figure things out and to see what Rey is up to, kind of. And maybe to get that vision implanted in it, kind of revealing her real identity to herself. Like, that's why, because Palpatine's essence is on the mask, which sounds really dirty or whatever. But, he's using that to kind of get her to bring that hold to her light. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because she seemed like in The Last Jedi, she was at peace with it and moved on from that. And now he's trying to invoke that again to mess with her head. So that's all I have, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost, we joked about this at the end of The Last Jedi, and we were talking about whether or not they would still be Force timing. And I think we'd made the joke that it was kind of like, he was the boyfriend that she had dumped, and he'd be trying to call her, but she wouldn't, send him a voicemail or ghost him. That's what the kids call it these days, ghost him. But yeah, it sounded like that was maybe that's the relationship, because I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, at least from the novels and everything that's been released in between this time period, it doesn't sound like neither of them have been speaking. So that was the first time that he may have actually made contact, or tried. It could have been just another time that he tried to contact her, but it wasn't until after that, when she's on Pasana, that they finally meet face to face, or talk, whatever we call that, Force time again. And let's talk about that, because that was interesting in that I really liked the way they did that, I guess is what I want to say. Like, where she could see him, he could see her, but they were not aware of their surroundings in the background. They couldn't see all of that.
Yeah.
And the idea that he was able to snatch that necklace.
It was like the upside down, when 11's in the upside down, everything's black, but you see the one thing that you focused on. That's kind of that's how I interpret it would look like from their perspective. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And there was also Lord of the Rings, right, going into the afterworld, or whatever that, I forget now what it's called.
Yeah.
Take away my nerd card. But anyways, same kind of concept here.
I don't even remember. So, we're both ejected. Go ahead.
We've been ejected after. Yeah, but that whole conversation, he says, Palpatine wants you dead. She says, servant under the master. No, I have other plans. He says, I offered you my hand once. You didn't. You wanted to take it. Why didn't you? And of course, we find out later when she says, I wanted to take Ben's hand. She says, you could have killed me. Why didn't you? He says, you can't hide, Rey, not from me. I see through the cracks of your mask. That whole conversation, I thought, was pretty good stuff. I thought some of the better dialogue that we've had in here.
No, but when they have those moments, those like one-on-one, I guess you could call them philosophical debates, like with Rey and Luke, and then like Rey and Kylo, those were really good. I thought those were really good moments, despite whatever I think. I thought that was pretty good. I like those moments, those intimate moments where they're going back and forth over things like that. I thought that was really good, but
yeah. But I guess, so at the very end of that conversation is where I've got my question. It says, do you still count the days since your parents left? He says, I don't want to have to kill you. And then the next line, he says, I'm going to find you and I'm going to turn you to the dark side. When I offer you my hand again, you'll take it. So the question I have is do you buy him? Do you buy that he's really trying to turn her to the dark side? Yeah,
I do. I think he's using her at this point. Because like I told you last episode, when they were fighting, I think he'd just been like, I don't care anymore. I'm just doing my thing. And I think he was trying to kill her. I don't think he was really trying to be, let's kiss and make up here. I think he was like done with it all. Like he'd had his moment, he tried, and then he remembers her slamming the door on him and all that stuff. And I think he was just like, yeah, no. I want to use you to get to where I need to go. And if you come with me, that's great, because then we can do other things. But if you're not, I don't give a crap. I'm just going to take you out, and that's it. Because at the end of the day, if he does that, Palpatine grants him his thing there, right? And he wins in the end. So in his mind, he's probably saying, well, I win-win either way, right? So you either going to
what does Palpatine get, though?
Well, Palpatine gets to live on through him at some point. I don't know, but that's that whole, story plot that we don't know exactly, but that we'll get to that at some point. But I'm just saying, in Kylo's mind here, it's a win-win for him. He doesn't care. Like if I get Rey, that's a bonus, and it'll be a better team, and the rule, it'll be better. But I can either way, I'm going to win because I'll be ruling and all this other stuff, and I won't have to worry about it. So, and I think, and then he looks at it like, I'll get rid of my biggest nemesis at the same time when I can. And that's it. So I don't know. You can disagree, I'm sure, but
no, I mean, I'm with you there, because I guess we're kind of saying the same thing. You're saying more, I think, more than anything. But I don't. I think if we can get more information about what was going on in this 1 year period between episodes 8 and 9, then I think it makes this
and
line
the novel
make more sense.
And the novel itself might expunge upon this. Expunge, is that a word? I mean, expound upon. Sorry. What's going on here? But we got to wait till March, right?
No, I agree. Right. So in March, maybe we'll get more information here. But taking at face value, this line sticks out to me because I don't feel like his character at this point, given what happened in The Last Jedi, would be looking at her saying, let's go to the dark side. I think he wants her to join him. But I think there are I think it's more than just light side, dark side. I think there's the relationship piece of it all. And to say that I'm going to make you go to the dark side it doesn't sit well with me. But like you said, maybe something else happened there, but there's probably something else that we don't have context of that'll help explain all that. But
I think, again, if you take my argument with him between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, where he technically, I think, manipulates the situation where he's in the throne room and he kills Snoke to his advantage, and we just didn't see that side of him planning and plotting and everything. I think, again, he's smarter than we think, and he manipulates more than we realize. And maybe that's the attraction with Palpatine. Maybe with his connection with Palpatine all these years, like his voice in his head, he picked up a thing or two on how to manipulate and kind of do his thing. You know what I mean? So I'm going with that for now.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we'll see.
All right.
That's what she says, Dan. We'll see.
We will.
Let's talk about the jumping over the TIE fighter scene because we, obviously at Celebration when we saw the trailer,
everyone lost their mind. Yep.
We all lost our minds. You were right there with us.
But I still don't like. I didn't think it would make the film, to be honest, because I thought it was going to be one of those things where we see it and it wasn't going to make the film. I still don't like that slow-mo action stuff. But I get it. It's just me. I'm stuck in the, how the George film things at times with Star Wars. So in me, it's me getting used to it. And I will over time. It doesn't really bother me. To be honest, like when I'm watching it, that's not what I say. Oh, they did the slow-mo thing. Like it's not, it doesn't take away. It's just my personal preference, really, at the end of the day.
Here's something else. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to, I don't want to get on a high pedestal or anything about, but the other thing you got to remember is the slow motion effects and all that. People say, well, that's just, we do that these days, but they never used to do that. Well, there's a technical reason why too, right?
I mean, they couldn't.
There was no way to do that. And it covers up some stuff too, right? I mean, the way today we've got CGI and we've got ways to clean things up digitally. Back then, you didn't really want to slow things down in a special effects movie because you weren't dealing with anything but practical effects. You want to hide it, right? So you want to go as fast as you can.
Again, but like I said, when Kylo's in the forest there, or when he's doing something else, when he's fighting Rey and he's channeling with his mom, Leia, it slows down, right? It fits because of the Force. So, and even in this sense, you could say because Rey and him are tied together, it's the Force here, right? You could even say that. So. It works. Either way, it really works. It's just me at the end of the day being a nitpicker at the end of the day. But,
I get it.
I thought it was cool that he crashed and that he was coming in. Like I'm telling you, I think he really wanted to kill her. I don't think he was trying to.
My question. Was he trying to kill her?
Yeah, I think he was. I don't think he. Huh. Actually, I think he was trying to push her to get confirmation that she's Palpatine or whatever. So,
yeah, that's more what I'm feeling.
That's my theory, to be honest. But I think he really didn't care if he killed her at the end of the day up until Ben comes back, like when he gets stabbed and Leia says her thing. So other than that, I think he really didn't care at that point. Like he didn't give a crap. Like he was out to do his thing, and this is the way it was. We had our chance to work together as a team, and you rejected it. And even though he said that, but I think it was more of a using of her to get to where he wanted to at the end of the day. But I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, I don't. I definitely see that side. I don't agree though. I don't think
that's fine. Yeah.
I just don't. No,
I agree. That's fine. We can disagree.
And we can. But I think to where I'm coming from is going back to what I said earlier. Where he was at The Last Jedi, where the relationship was, and the things that he said, the things that he did, it seems like a disconnect for me. And then again, I just need somebody to fill in the gaps and give me something hard evidence that says, nope, he didn't really feel this way, and he didn't really want a relationship with her, and all of that. And this is truly him now being just a jerk and out for himself, being selfish. If that's the case, then fine, I'll buy it. But this is another one where I felt like I think he was trying to push her. Agree, 100%.
That at this point, I agree. He's trying to push and get confirmation of what he believes it is. But anyway, I'm sorry.
I think he was. Yeah. No, you're fine. I think he was. I think he knew that running her over with a TIE fighter wasn't going to be enough. And But it was just another way to kind of push. Maybe he thought he was going to. I don't think he thought she was going to jump over and cut the wing off.
Yeah, no, I think,
right?
Yeah, which would have been cool is if she stood her ground. I would have loved to see this. Like the shot would have been like
a
her
showdown,
just
or
staying there,
playing
right?
chicken.
Yeah, and she just puts her saber out and clefts the wing right off, and he crashes. Like she just stands her ground, and that would have been awesome instead of the flip. But that's just me. If I'm the director, I would have had it where she just plants her feet, sticks it out, and then slices the wing, and he crashes, and that would have been awesome. Yeah. But that's just me.
But yeah, and then to kind of play that scene out even further, he obviously pushes her and gets her to use. Well, I don't think he was expecting the Force lightning. I think he was just trying to get her to be angry, and I think they were both shocked and surprised that she was able to manifest the Force lightning the way she did. And I don't
know if he was shocked, but I think he was like, "Oh, okay, it's true." I don't think he expected it, but I think he was like, "Yeah, all right, okay."
Right, that went better than I thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. Like I did. Well, he's more powerful than her at this point.
Think so?
Oh yeah, I do. Or she's just so in her own head at this point. Like she's not like in control of her power.
Confidence-wise.
Yeah, like I think he's more calm and in control. I'll say that. So I think that's why he's more powerful at this point, because I don't think he's lost his mind like he did the previous two films where he had it under control, where she was finally losing her mental state in a sense of like, because her mind was all over the place, bouncing all over the place. And that's why the Force lightning came out and everything, because he seemed more powerful because he was holding it back and everything and whatever. So, but yeah, anyway.
No, I agree. I would. It's just funny that we're saying this, given what we said about him in The Force Awakens and how uncontrolled he was.
Yeah,
definitely. We got the character growth here that he was able to kind of control it and keep it in check a lot more than he has in the past. We've kind of touched on this one already, but it next goes into his quarters, which I was calling the white room,
the Beatles,
and then the hangar. Right, those scenes are kind of back to back. But this is where the moment he finally tells her the truth about her parents, tells her the truth about her grandfather, and then makes that final offer for her to kind of join him. In this moment, you still feel the same way. You feel like he wasn't trying to kill her here. In fact, from here on out, even in the battle when they're fighting on Death Star 2, he's not. It doesn't seem like he's really going out for blood. It seems like he's trying to get her to join.
On the Death Star, I do. I think he's trying to use her at this point to get to Palpatine and get what he wants and maybe even bring her along at some point. Like he's kind of playing that card. But when they're on the Death Star, I think he's finally like, I'm done. I said this last week. I think he'd had it. I gave you all the chances. You kind of rejected again. You went with Finn and the gang. So now that's it. We're done. And this is the end of it. And he even points out when they're on the Death Star where he says, look at yourself. You're a mess, basically. You're all over the place. You don't know what's going on. I do. And blah, 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 this whole thing. And I think he just was like, yeah, whatever. I'm just going to kill you now because this is just what I got to do. Because you're obviously, even if I take the throne or whatever and you're with me, you're going to be my enemy at some point. Like you're going to crave the power that I have. And then there's going to be a problem, right? Because that's how it works with the power. So I think he was like, all right, I'm just going to take you out. And that's it. Till Leia gets in touch with him, she stabs him, and then he gets healed, and he's like, whoa. It kind of brings him back, so to speak. Or does Rey give him a bit of good when she heals him? Is like there's a bit of put a little bit of light in him, and then that
easy now.
Is that what accelerates the whole I'm good now? I'm just throwing things out there,
Maybe. Well, hold on. You're getting ahead. Don't get ahead here.
Sorry. I wasn't even paying attention to that. I was just kind of going with the flow, but go ahead.
What I guess the moment that stood out for me here was the line of my mother was the daughter of Vader, your father was the son of the Emperor.
Yeah.
What Palpatine doesn't know is that we're a dyad in the Force Ray.
Yeah.
So how did and this I don't know. I got a question here.
Okay.
How is it that he knew that they were a dyad? Because later on, when the Emperor tries to siphon their powers, he didn't. That's when he gets the realization that they're a dyad, right?
Because it goes, Which,
by the way, I have a theory that the dyad is going to be we will have a dyad in the High Republic. I'm putting that out there right now.
All right.
What time is it? 3:29 p.m. 15:20. Okay.
Yep.
The dyad. They're going to have a dyad relationship in the High Republic. Anyways.
Okay.
But yeah. So anyways, he doesn't know this, or Palpatine doesn't know that to the very end.
Because again, I think Kylo knows more and is smarter than we think. And is more in tune with the Force because I think, you got to remember, he's the grandson of the Chosen One. So maybe he's in tune with things that we don't get to see, unfortunately. And maybe we'll get that in a book, or maybe even the novel reveals some of that, I hope. But this is just my wacky theory, right? Because I've been saying since The Force Awakens, and then when you see him in the Last Jedi, where he kills Snoke and everyone's surprised, but he had planned to do that. Like, he had this plan in action, and I think he knew the Emperor was around. Like, he wasn't caught off guard by all this. But this is just my wacky theory, which could be absolutely nothing at the end of the day. So that's my theory on that. With the dyad thing. Other than that, I don't know where he would get that information about the dyad thing. But
it's hard to say, but
yeah, because the problem I do have is with Palpatine, and I have a problem with Palpatine coming back for a whole host of reasons. But Palpatine's been plotting for 30 years in zombie Palpatine here, right? Obviously, he would know. Like, he knows about Rey, right? And he knows, but he hasn't had them both in his presence. So I guess maybe that's what you need to know this thing. I don't know. That's a tricky question. I hope we get an answer for at some point, Albert.
Well, we're going to spoiler alert. Next episode. We're going to be talking about
my buddy
Palps, Grandpa Palps.
Grandpa Pal.
We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, so hold that thought, because we'll have to come up with some crazy tinfoil hat theories on
well,
all
I'm
of
sure
this.
we will. I mean, this is going to be the season of tinfoil hats. So
it is. I mean, might as well throw in Mortis, right? To go to your point, if he is the son of the grandfather of the chosen one, then who knows? Maybe the Mortis talked to him, father did, or
there was
son
that
or somebody
callback when you watch it, where Palpatine finds out about the dyad when he's sucking the life out of him.
Yeah,
I immediately thought of the father, the daughter, and the son, like right there. That whole the triangle. Yeah, exactly. It made me think of that immediately, which I thought was cool. However, I can't believe that Palpatine wouldn't know about that or anything. Right. I would love to know if Palpatine knew about the whole father, the daughter, and the son thing with Anakin.
Oh, I think he does, 100%. I think that was confirmed in Rebels.
Yeah, I think so. I think you mentioned that. Yeah, because they were doing that scouting thing with the wacky guy there or whatever, and he probably wanted more answers, right? So, all right, that makes sense, yeah. See, you forget some things, Yeah,
no, well, when you're still... Take these notes down, because this is stuff we got to talk about next episode.
I know. We're going to have to listen to the show when I write these notes down as we go. But anyway.
So at that point, though, he says that we're a dyad in the Force, two that are one, we'll kill them together and take the throne. So it sounds like then at least he was, unless he was lying to her, this is where now he's starting to change his, at least based on what you're saying, he's starting to change a little bit, because now he's saying we'll take the throne together. And this aligns with the vision that Rey had earlier in the movie. Where she saw herself. She told Finn.
But is he putting the vision in her head like Palpatine?
No, I don't think so.
No, I'm throwing things out there, man.
No, I get it.
It's just what my job. That's what I do. I come on the show. I cause chaos. That's what I do.
Right. All right. Let's move on to Act 2, because we've got a whole other hour here to talk about this show.
Great! I can't wait to edit. But go ahead.
And this is the best part for me. There's two parts in this movie that have been my favorite. By far, like it's above and beyond. It's this moment here where they're fighting each other on the Death Star 2, and then Han shows up. That I can just watch all day long. And then the other part for me is the whole very end of it, where he's coming to her rescue, kind of thing. But anyways, this part here starts with a particular line where he tells Rey that now we're fast forwarding a little bit. She's already seen Dark Rey. They're in the chamber together. And he tells her that you've proven something else here. You can't go back to her like I can't.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a very powerful statement to say, right? He's trying to almost, he's being manipulative, trying to at least be that way. It's something that, Palpatine would say, or Vader would say, to manipulate someone else. But basically saying, hey, that you're now in this with me, right? We both got the dark side. He told her, we should embrace it. This is who we are. Forget my mom. Join me. Together we can rule the galaxy together. Do you see this though is another level of his character being, I guess, another development level for him, that he's going now and not just saying, hey, you need to join me. He's trying to like convince her and coerce her into switching over sides here.
Yeah, because again, like at the top of the show, like I said, one of the highlights of the whole sequel trilogy, character-wise, was him. And I think he was more smarter and more manipulating than we realize. I think when you step back a couple of years from now and you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, he's kind of, I wouldn't say Palpatine-esque or even Anakin, but close to that in the sense of characters, with the manipulation, the power, and all that other stuff. And I think here, it's kind of a final offer. Like he's in her head, but I also think he's like, all right, I'm going to give you one more shot here. And if you reject me, that's it. I really don't care. I'm still sticking with that. So I'm going to go with that. But definitely his character has definitely evolved quite a bit and has a lot of richness. And that a lot of it goes to Adam as well, pulling off a lot of what he did. So
yeah. So he tells her dark side's in our nature, surrender to it. He says, you're the only way you're getting to Exegol is with me, which, by the way, that TIE fighter only has one seat. So I don't know who's sitting on whose lap there. Well, but anyways,
hey.
Yeah. Well,
there's a secret room that came out of nowhere in the Death Star. I mean, there's a secret passenger seat there. So
you were looking for it too. I think that's hilarious.
I was. I've been hunting for it, and it's not there. But that's okay.
None of the literature. Yeah. So
they'll retcon that someday. But
yeah, they probably will. So here, let's get into Leia's sacrifice. And we can talk about some theories here because I've seen a lot of different ones. I've got my own that I prescribed to you, but the idea that Leia, Maz, love her to death. She says, where is it now here? That Leia knows what needs to be done.
She has to use her strength, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
To reach out to her son now will take all the strength she has left. And then we see Leia walk away and we see her go lie down. And then we'll fast forward to her dying. I guess we'll call it that. And it's in that moment that it shocks Ben or Kylo Ren to the point where Rey gets the upper hand and finally stabs him. But going back to Leia, just quickly, because this isn't a Leia episode, but I want to talk about this. When Maz says that she knows what needs to be done, and it's going to take all her strength that she has left to reach her son, does Leia kill herself? Does she?
I think so in a way, because I think if you want to go to like the Last Jedi when she's connecting with Ben, it gives Ben a sense of he's not alone. So when Ben hears Leia reach out and she dies, Ben has that moment of, oh crap, I'm alone. And this is where I think he starts the whole, I'm not going to kill Rey because Rey is all I got left in a sense of some kind of a family. So that's why he's hesitant and he doesn't know what to do. And then that's why he gets stabbed. And then that's why he's also stunned when he gets stabbed. Like, I'm dying myself. My mom just died. The one person I was going to turn to after this moment is just tried to kill me. What the hell do I do? And he was in that shock moment where he's like, what do I do? Type of thing. But I think Leia, it would have been cool if she force projected. That would have been pretty cool. Like Luke, that would have been awesome. But
yeah,
obviously with the logistics of Carrie and everything, you couldn't exactly do that. You get what you get here. So I don't fault him on that. But I think that's kind of what that moment was, is to like a sacrifice, which Leia would do. Like she would sacrifice, and moms all do that with their kids, whether they speak or whatever, and there's problems or whatever. Yeah. Moms usually at the end of the day would sacrifice themselves for their child. And I think that's kind of what this is here. And then Ben realizes, oh, I'm alone. The family that I had, I don't have Uncle Luke, who, we didn't leave on the best of terms. Dad, I killed him myself. And now I got mom, who's completely gone, who was my biggest fan, and, and whatever. Sure, it conflicts with the whole, I'd held hope for Ben for so long, but, he's on his own now type of thing. But, that's how I kind of took it. Like she sacrificed herself for the greater good of her son. And that's kind of a beautiful moment. So I don't have an issue with that, but I don't know. How do you interpret that?
Honestly, it's no different, really.
Oh, good.
Well, I mean, because I've been saying all along that Leia, there's something special about a mother's love, and it was very clear to us in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi that she obviously had some very deep rooted feelings, and you can never. I truly believe this. I'm sure there's exceptions out there, but I've always been one to say that it's your kids can do some really horrible, horrible things. And it's very hard for you as a parent to just say, I don't love them and I don't care about them. I can't mentally do that, right? I can't even put myself in that, like wrap my head around that idea of that concept, because you know what they were like when they were babies, and you get all these emotions and stuff and feelings and memories and everything else. It's a very different relationship. So if you're not a parent, I can't really explain it, but it's very different. But that said, I think she did sacrifice, and I've got questions about, okay, so how and why, but that's me, sweating the details. It's obviously she did kill herself in some way, or she let herself go. Who knows? Maybe she's been holding on to life for this entire time. Something else happened or what. But she definitely let herself go, allowed that to send a shockwave, if you will, to Kylo Ren, which again gave him pause, and Rey, out of hatred right? I mean, she's like angry. We even talked about this. We forgot to, we didn't mention it too much, but she's angry in this movie a lot, more than we've ever seen, which I think is really cool. Everything from the way she acts and the way she fights and all that. But, she stabs him, and I kind of took that symbolically as her killing Kylo Ren. Yeah. I don't think she was really out to kill Ben Solo. We get that. We know that, right? I mean, that's who she was reaching out to, and that's whose hand she wanted to join. But that was a symbolic killing of Kylo Ren when she did that.
Yeah.
And
I agree with that. Yeah.
The healing that happens then after that, we were kind of spoon fed that earlier. We know, but definitely she heals him. I like the idea. If you didn't catch this, it's been talked about a lot now. The scar going away. Yeah. It's very visible. You can watch it right before your eyes. It just disappears off his face. And again, that's more symbolism that scar was a scar that Kylo Ren carried, and that character, that person's no longer around, and it is Ben Solo, and Ben Solo doesn't have that scar, which I thought was kind of cool. So, and then he's staggered. I mean, he's completely broken at this point on every level. At least that's how I read it. And I think Adam does an amazing job here, but you can just,
he's completely in shock. As I said, like he doesn't know what's up, down, left, right, or whatever. He's completely like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, he has no idea who he is. I mean, it's true. He's been now reunited with this person that he has suppressed and buried for a number of years. And he's going to that whole realization of, okay, I'm no longer that life. I'm no longer this person. I'm this new person. And I think that plays exactly into our next scene, which is where Han comes back and, hey kid, I miss you, son. Mm-hmm. Right. That whole thing is, hey, again,
kid, I'm just here for the check. Right. I'm going to go cash it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. You look good, kid. All right. I'm out of here. Sorry. I couldn't help myself, but you are right. It is a touching scene. I will give you that. And as a father and one who's close to his father, I get it. I get that whole moment. It was a little weird I think it was a little weird for people because Han wasn't like a Force ghost and he's dead. But Kylo says you're just a memory.
It's just in his memory.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know if that computed with a lot of people. It did with me right away. And plus I knew it was coming because of the spoilers, but it's in his head. It's interesting that we get to, but that plays in with the whole dyad thing when Rey and him can see each other, but they don't know what's going on around. It's just, we're seeing what he would see here and whatever. So it all works out in a way. I don't have a problem with it. It's like Luke in the cave too, at the end of the day, right? Like he sees a physical form of Vader, but it's really him at the end of the day. So, But anyway, continue. What were you going to say about this?
I was going to say that scene is when I watched it the first time, I couldn't help but think if maybe that was a scene that, like, what would Leia have been in that moment, right? If they had originally, because we know Leia was supposed to be featured heavily in this movie, and obviously she wasn't because of what happened. But I thought, man, it would have been really cool had they done the same thing. Like the scene probably could have played out the exact same way.
It probably would have been a Force projection. To be honest, well, maybe not.
Had she not died?
Yeah, I don't know. That would have been interesting because you'd want them to have a physical. But then again, Luke kisses Leia on the head, right? And that was physical. But then when Kylo goes to stab him, it just kind of
nothing there.
So maybe there's a moment where if you're going to have a moment, you can kind of be physical. But when it's, you can only do that once, maybe. I don't know. That's a whole thing that someone's going to have to work out at some point. But I thought it would have been interesting if she was there as well. Like, again, I think this is one of the problems that, for me at least, that hurts the sequel trilogy, besides a lot of things, is the fact that Carrie passed away. Like, you know what I mean? Because there would have been so much more at the end of the day. But it is what it is. So, this is where we are.
But I think I like that Han was in this scene.
Yeah.
I think it would have been even more powerful if that was Leia.
It would have been nice if it was both, to be honest.
Well,
but
maybe,
or all three, Luke too. But
but even they could have even kept it the same thing, right? Where he goes through the same lines of, I there's something I need to do. I just don't know if I have the strength to do it, that kind of thing. Or I know what I need to do. I don't know if I have the strength. But his acting in this and Han's acting. I never teared up in this movie, which I thought I was going to, and I didn't. But this is a movie where I do get a little choked up because it's just that whole father and son relationship, and I really like what they did. I know it sounds cheesy, but I do like what they did at the very end, where he says "Dad," and Han responds back, "I know," because then you're like, oh my gosh, he was trying to say "I love you," and Han, being Han, didn't say that.
But in a way, you could look at it like even I bet you Han couldn't say. Well, he does say it to Leia. He does say it to Leia, "I love you," and she says, "I know." But I get a moment like between Kylo, like Han would probably normally not just openly say, "I love you." And Ben being the same as Han in a way is kind of the same way, but Han knows, so
that's just probably part of their relationship, right?
It's kind of an unspoken thing where, and I get that with my dad. I was like that when I was a kid, but now we both say, I love you. And that's stuff. It's you move past that at some point. And I think that's kind of the threshold where they just kind of jumped there. So, which is good.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that because that's the same way with my father. Like we never,
we used to never hug nothing. Now it's 20s, completely different.
30s, and now, after I don't know, something happened.
It's called we all got old and we realized
we got older and more mature. Is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and time's short. You're not going to be around forever, and neither is he. And hey, you might as well say you love someone and hug them while you can. So
yeah,
but that's me being deep.
Well, So he throws the lightsaber away, immediately turns back,
and
and Han's gone. Which I don't know. You could. There's two ways to look at that. You can look at him turning back the way he does to say, is this really happening? Did that really happen? Is it all in my head, or is he looking for some sort of validation in some way?
I think he's
more
focused
from his
now.
father.
I think he's focused. Like now, everything that's been in his head, Snoke, Palpatine, Vader, his father, maybe even Luke or whatever that's been in his head, and he finally has clarity now. Like he threw away all the baggage in that moment, and now Han's not there because he's focused and he knows what he has to do, and he's just reassuring himself, like, okay, the ghosts are gone, and now I can be me, and I can go forward and help Rey and do what I have to do. So you can look at it that way.
I like that. I like that.
Oh, very good. See, every now and then I throw a good one out.
You got some good ones.
I know. Sometimes I'm pretty. I'm good to have on the show. Sometimes. Very rare, but just a few times.
Sometimes, yeah.
Just a few times.
Let's get into Act 3, because really he doesn't come back until so very far out. Very far out there in Act 3 where he finally shows up and he jumps onto the chain. He says, "Ow."
Ben's first and last words, and thanks to you, I cannot get "We Need a Hero" out of my head when I see that now. You've ruined it for me, but I
absolutely love that.
I wish we had more Ben Solo now because I kind of like this character when he jumps and he's ow. It was it was great.
So he shows up in a TIE fighter, which
where'd he get that?
Well, I don't know.
The hangar?
Who cares?
Was there one in the secret closet there? Maybe there was a TIE fighter.
There was still one that was in good condition. Who knows?
Okay. But that's
like how he got off the planet. I mean, all this stuff is like, I know. It's the stuff that you and I talk about. We try to.
The general audience does not care.
They don't care.
It's just you and I because we're stupid like that. But then I thought, our audience probably. Our audience is probably.
They'll probably. Yeah. They've already turned this show off.
Oh, yeah. Well, who can blame him? I'm on the show, so.
But so then I thought, okay, what if he got an Imperial TIE fighter? Wait a minute. That doesn't have a hyperdrive. So how did he get? Okay. Anyways.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. It'd have to be a First Order TIE fighter. Unless. Well, actually, you know what? It's not even the First Order TIE.
No, that's an original TIE.
It's only that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so it doesn't have a TIE. It doesn't have a hyperdrive. Anyways, let's not. Yeah, that's enough.
Let's not.
Getting really nerdy here. What were we talking about? Oh, so Act 3.
Yes.
He confronts the Knights of Ren, which again, I'm sure there was probably more here, but like there's no weapons.
Well, he's got his blaster. He's got his blaster.
No dialogue.
Nothing.
No, he didn't have it.
Yes, he did. He shot
he shot that one dude, but but I'll go back and look. But I could have sworn it didn't show. Didn't have it in that scene.
Well, he lost. Well, no. When the Knights of Ren show up, I think he lost it somehow. I don't know. I don't remember how.
Exactly. So I don't know what happened, but he didn't have his blaster. Even if he did, they're all force sensitive. We know that from the visual dictionary, anyways. They're all force sensitive users.
They were, to be honest, but
that's,
I'm just saying.
But you got to think that even if he had his blaster, probably would have been effective. And Kylo probably knew that. He's showing up to a blaster with a. You never show up to a blaster with a force user fight. I don't know what that is. Anyways. But yeah, there's no dialogue spoken between them, which I thought was odd because they've had a relationship for a number of years.
Yep.
Right. And
know their moves,
Yeah. I mean, there was just, it's just weird. There was nothing said or done here. And so it just relegates these guys.
Hey guys,
I'm breaking up, but it relegates them to like Boba Fett. They're basically a team of Boba Fett's from the original trilogy.
He was showing up to say, I'm going on a solo career. I don't want to be part of the band anymore. But it makes no sense. Anyway. But yeah, you're right. They're essentially, them and the Sith Troopers are Boba Fett. Or Zebo, whatever.
They look cool, but beyond that, we know nothing about them, and they kind of go out pretty quickly.
Yeah. You know what we need to do? We need to do a show about Dengar and his cosmetic surgery that he had.
Goodness. Poor Dengar.
I know, man.
He looks a hot mess too. You see him there on Kijimi, or Kijimi, as you said.
Yeah.
But on Kijimi, they.
I noticed you put Yoda in the show notes. By the way, you didn't put Yoda. You put Yoda. But anyway, continue, sir.
Sorry,
this show is going off the rails. But go ahead.
If you've listened to the show, you're getting all these jokes. If not, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we'll have to explain another day.
Yeah, just listen to me talk and you'll understand. But go ahead.
All right, so we're at the most pivotal part, my favorite part, and we're just cracking jokes here. But so the Knights of Ren stop. They don't. I guess there's a moment there where they could have kept piling on and taken him out, but they don't.
Did they not want to kill him? They just wanted to kind of, because technically they
beat him up,
follow him, and he's kind of like, I don't know. But why are the Knights of Ren there with Palpatine at that point? Shouldn't they be loyal to him at that point? Like shouldn't they have been around? Because
and that's in the visual dictionary it says the Knights of Ren are they're subservient to only whoever the leader of the Ren is. Like, and then this is getting into the comics. I don't want to. We can get to, when we talk about it. When we get to that episode, we'll get into this more. But they're supposed to be fiercely loyal to whoever is the leader of Ren, whoever holds the title of Ren, which is Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And so maybe, I mean, you can make an argument that he's not Kylo Ren here now.
Well, true, Solo. And they probably know that because he doesn't have the mask on.
Maybe they know that, right?
And maybe because
that guy's gone.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the other thing to our question earlier. He didn't have a mask, right? And to them, you need to have your mask in order for us to follow you. So they were like, well, you got to put your mask back on. Maybe that's what that was. And when he shows up, he doesn't have the mask on again. They're kind of like, all right, so you're not one of us, and then they kind of do their thing. But why are they even there, though?
I don't know.
You know, well, hey, why is he in a TIE fighter that doesn't have a hyperdrive?
Hyperdrive. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you could just say that it goes against the visual dictionary and to some extent canon, maybe at face value, that they would now be serving Palpatine.
Yeah.
Unless Palpatine, is the original
knight.
Or original knight, he orchestrated that group, and they always reported to him, even though Kylo believed that the myth was always that they reported to whoever was the Ren itself, whoever that title is, and maybe that was just what people thought and saw and heard, but really they always truly reported to Palpatine, much like Snoke did, and all that. I don't know, who knows, but there is a moment there where they they beat him down and they stop. And I don't, for the movie to go the way it went, they have to stop. They can't just kill him.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like they didn't really give us a good reason as to why they stopped or paused.
Did he say uncle? Uncle?
I don't know. We didn't hear it anyways. Because that would have been the second word he said after.
Or did he do some kind of a force push where they were off of him? Or, I mean.
Nope. They beat him down. They hit him a couple times. They cut over to Rey.
Yep.
And the Emperor says, "Make the sacrifice." And then he's going through that whole thing. Makes the sacrifice. And
well, maybe they stopped because they heard the commotion at that point, and they thought, well, Kylo is kind of defeated. It's going to happen anyway, so maybe we don't need to kill him.
Possible.
Maybe. I don't know. We're trying to rationalize something that we're not going to have an answer to because it was just a mistake in editing. Maybe. I don't know.
So at that point, that obviously gives him enough time to get on his feet and then have the whole internal conversation, which they have to have, which I thought was kind of cool. You can see it all over their faces that they're having some kind of conversation and they know exactly what's about to happen.
Yeah.
I'd like to think they both see,
what's going on.
They're reading each other's thoughts. Yeah. And so he transfers the lightsaber over, which is, again, a force power that we've talked about a number of times being like, I wouldn't say OP.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something new that we've never seen before.
Well, when we got to this act, everyone was in God mode at this point. Palpatine, them, everybody. Except for the Knights of Ren.
They went out like chumps.
Yeah.
And then obviously they both take out their respective people and they come together. And I really like that scene where they finally kind of look at each other and they both turn and both sabers come up. Luke and Leia's are both blue. I mean, all that stuff is really good stuff. Star Wars stuff, I think, for me. That does feel like, it's very kind of hokey at times, but it's also, Star Wars. So, but yeah, they don't get to do much because immediately after that, Palpatine hits them with lightning or puts them to their knees, and that's where we get the whole parallel, I think, with Mortis, like we talked about.
But you know what I have a problem with, like with the Knights of Ren, just real quick? Yeah. Like he bends over and he has the saber behind him to block a shot, right? But there's like there's like a long pause there before he even swings at Ben, right? So if you're a Knight of Ren, you're like, all right, you're going to block me? I'll just cut your legs off of the back half of your back here. Why are we even doing this? Like, I don't know. It just seemed very weird, but that could be, yeah. I'm just,
I think that was, I don't know. I agree. Like, and that's not the most egregious moment in fighting in Star Wars, right? There's plenty of them. There's plenty where you're like, that's an open shot. Why didn't they take it?
Yeah. So, I mean,
I think it was for the dramatic purposes of seeing it. And I think it showed a little, I wouldn't say it's brevity, but it definitely showed that and the owl. It's just a very different character. He feels different. Even the way he fights is completely different now as Ben Solo.
Well, it's funny because he even does like a sigh after that shot off the back.
Yeah, he lets off the, he's like, kind of thing before he goes back into fighting. So there's almost like this new life in him, which I think is really cool that they did that. And to your point, if they had not done that and made it, more realistic, we would not have seen that little moment of Ben Solo, which, at this point, I think we will take anything. But yeah, so they both get taken down to their knees, and that's in the moment where, he realizes that they're a dyad and starts sucking the life out of them. He regenerates himself. And then the next thing we get with Kylo Ren is him getting thrown around. He says,
yeeted.
What's that?
The yeet. They threw him off the thing.
They yeeted him right off the cliff there.
Yeah.
But he says, what was the line?
As one side fell, so will the last Skywalker or whatever.
Yeah, that line.
And then when Ben crawls up, he should have said, well, I'm a Solo.
Right.
So
here, I got something for you guys too. If you've not had a chance to read the Snoke comic book, there were two big parts in that recently. I went and revisited that because Jonesy and I did a show on this one on the comic book itself. But there were two parts that stood out to me in rereading that. One was something I posted on Instagram and social media recently where Snoke says, he tells Kylo Ren, had your uncle been by my side, I would have, ruled he says, we would have won essentially a long time ago.
Ruled the galaxy long ago.
Yeah. And that was I thought that was really cool because that kind of spoke to Palpatine Snoke being Palpatine, because that's what Palpatine wanted in the original trilogy. He wanted Luke to join him. But the other part of it was we do get a moment early on in that comic book where Snoke is holding out. He's forcefully levitating Kylo Ren off the cliff, and he lets him go.
Yeah.
And tells Kylo Ren, as Kylo Ren's falling, that he knows that he's not going to save him. So Kylo Ren has to channel his dark side, his anger, his hate, and stop himself from falling and hitting the ground. And he does literally at the last moment. He stops himself, which is cool because that was the first time we had seen something like that before. Poor Mace Windu never realized how to do that. But anyways.
Or did he?
Or maybe he did. No, because either way, he's dead now.
At this point. But yeah.
But that was a way, and again, you shouldn't have to read something to know how something happens. But if you're wondering how Kylo Ren probably survived that fall, it's more than likely as a callback to that comic book. And the only difference being is he had to have channeled his light side, or the love for Rey, or the love for his mom, or the will to be alive in that moment, and stopped himself from hitting the ground wherever he fell. And that's why he comes back. Now, he probably took a bump on the way down or something because he's hurting, right? He's limping all the way back to Rey when he finally picks her up.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he bounced around. I mean,
yeah. So yeah, that's essentially how he survived that. And we've already gotten past the whole, I'm all the Jedi, I'm all the Sith kind of thing. Emperor's dead. And he comes back to Rey and finds that she's now dead. Which, this is part of the whole, he's obviously been redeemed at this point. But then we get this final sacrifice moment where he finally gives his life to
But was she really
her.
dead? Well, we kind of said this, right? Like, was she really dead? Because he vanishes as, like the chosen one, right? And she's still physically there for at least 5 minutes or so. Till he crawls up on the pit and does his magic there. I don't know. So you got to wonder, why didn't she or was she just a zombie comatose? And I don't know. That whole But that's us to work out on podcast, right? That's for us to debate later on and everything else. But in any case, yes, Ben was redeemed and he did a sacrifice and everything. And then everybody got in an uproar because he's died or whatever, and the kiss and that whole thing. But go ahead.
Well, so I think, let's break this down. So I think I think Rey was dead because when she falls, they cut over to Finn. And he looks completely devastated. He felt it happen, right?
Yeah.
So that was enough for me to feel, okay, she did die. So let's just assume that she is dead at this point.
Is it all because all the Jedi are in her that's keeping her alive till Ben comes up and does his thing?
I hadn't considered that. That's one option.
Is that the other thing is doing his thing? Maybe so technically, I don't know.
It had to be because the problem that I have. Well, let me tell you what I think.
Okay,
and then I'll tell you where I'll counter myself on it. I think that she didn't pass because she never learned how to. Like, that's something that they have to be taught, right? At some point.
Okay.
We know that because, Qui-Gon taught Yoda, and we know that Yoda then passed that knowledge on to Kenobi and et cetera, et cetera.
To Luke, et cetera.
So, and that's why Kanan doesn't have it. And that's why, there's a difference between dying and becoming a Force ghost and dying and becoming a disembodied voice in the Force. I think those are totally different things.
Yeah.
And I think we're starting to see that now, right?
Yes.
So
although you can learn it because Qui-Gon
you can learn it later. Yeah, yes, exactly. Later on, you can learn how to do it.
Correct.
But here's where I counter that because Anakin never learned it.
Well,
but yet
here's my thinking with that. Is it?
Well, I've got thoughts around it, but go.
But my thought was always that Obi-Wan and Yoda kind of found his Force thing and kind of did what they had to do because now they're more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Mm-hmm. Or the Force kind of just granted him that because he did the sacrifice and kind of took him into the fold, right? Or maybe there's some kind of a Force moment where when you're the chosen one, like him and Rey, I guess, and you have a moment where, you're kind of talking to the Force God or whatever before you disappear or whatever. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm throwing things against the wall here, but I always took that as like Anakin was pulled from, like Obi-Wan and Yoda kind of pulled him into their realm, so to speak, because of his sacrifice. So,
right.
That's kind of where I went with that. But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
No, so to counter my counter,
yes,
I'm with you there because I think the evidence, at least I don't know if we talked about this on Discord or on the show or not, but anyways, maybe it was a reaction show, whatever it was. The idea that Leia's body was still there. And she didn't dissipate into a Force ghost until the very end. Like for me, in my head canon is she stuck around because she wanted to make sure that she brought her son along because she knew that if he died, he had never been taught how to do it.
Yeah.
And so she stuck around long enough to that when he finally did truly die, she took him with him, much like you said, Kenobi and Yoda or whoever else brought Anakin over. So now that begs the question of why he didn't show up at the end, but that's another story that we'll talk about here.
I had a whole thing about that. That's in the Mike Rondo cut that we were working on last week before the JJ cut. But go ahead.
But here's my problem with all of this.
Yeah.
As from a story perspective, I get it. I think the general audience has really connected with the way it ends, believe it or not. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like the way it ended.
Oh yeah.
I'm one of those people.
I am too.
I don't like the fact that they did not allow this character to live on in some way. And that's right. The final word has not been written on Ben Solo. I'm not saying that. But in terms of the saga, the way it ended, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit well with me that they threw this character through all three movies like the way they did, and then allowed him just to kind of die off. And you can make the argument that they did that with Anakin, right, to some extent. But this just seems a little too harsh. And maybe I'm channeling my own kids' feelings because they were pretty upset that they don't get Ben Solo now. They've been waiting for it. They were chomping at the bit for this character to come to the light, and I think we all were.
Well, you know what?
Whether we admit it or not, we were pulling for this guy.
You know what the problem is? The problem right now is that we've only had Kylo and maybe 2 minutes of Ben Solo. So what we do need, and something I think that's going to happen, and we've discussed it on the show, is the adventures of like Ben Solo and Luke Skywalker to get to know Ben, and even Luke's mindset before he turns to the wacky old man that goes off and lives on his own there. We need that resolved. I think that's the biggest thing that we have. It's part of my problem, right? And
you've said it before on the show.
Yeah.
Too.
So, and even like although I agree that Ben needed to die here, it stinks in a way because we've only had him for 5 minutes. Now, with the original, like with Anakin, we had 3 movies where he was Anakin, and then the Clone Wars, and then we saw him as Vader, and then he came back. Okay, we're cool with that. Yeah. We got all this material. Here, we only have 3 movies, and most of it's Kylo Ren, and then that moment with Ben right there. And then, yeah, we got some ancillary stuff with the comics and everything, but we need more depth. We need something with the show, with him and Luke, and even with his parents, more interaction with that, and with Snoke and everything else. Like, we need to see it play out on a screen somewhere on Disney Plus or in something like that. We can't have it just in a book. Yeah, exactly. We need something more there. And I think that will help, like, your kids going forward when they pick up all the stuff or they watch it, they'll be like, oh, okay, it's fine. I'm at peace with him dying. Because when you die like that, when you sacrifice, obviously that makes sense that you would vanish and die or whatever, because that gives weight to the sacrifice, right? And what he did. But we only got him for 5 minutes. So it's like we need to go back and fill in those gaps where we can even cheer. It makes more sense to, and we're more at peace with Ben dying at that point. So that's how I take it. We need more. No, we need more. We need Disney Plus to do something soon.
I get it. And I agree that we definitely need more of his character, because we were shortened so much. I think just from a fairy tale perspective, though, if they went to the length of allowing these 2 characters to kiss and show affection for one another, then that part does feel like, okay, yeah. Still, though, I would have liked to see the fairy tale ending, because that's what I mean. I don't know. Yeah. George may have different. I think I've always heard him say this, but maybe he feels differently now. But it seemed like Star Wars was always supposed to be a happy ending. People want happy endings. So, so yeah, it just seems like that does go. Well,
some people think Rey's pregnant, but because of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Again,
last I checked, biology doesn't work that way, but it's a galaxy far, far away. But
well, tell that to Palpatine.
I know. Well, with the Force magic that they had going between each other, who the hell knows? But I always thought, like I'd always said, if you go back and listen to those shows, like I wasn't in favor of the whole Reylo and them being romantically involved. But I even said, like in that show that we did, I said the last shot would probably be her looking in the sunset pregnant. We didn't quite get that. I was fine with it because I'm like, I always said, well, if you want the Skywalker name to live on somehow, this is kind of how you do it, where Rey is the one that, does her thing or whatever and, brings the next generation in. That didn't exactly happen. But, I thought there was going to be, if that's the way they're going, because I always thought like Rey was just to take out the Skywalkers, which technically did happen in one way. She just carries the mantle at the end. But, I don't know. We just need more on Ben, but I'll leave it at that and we'll move on, sir.
Yeah. The only other thing I want to touch on here before we go is the idea that, for me, Star Wars has been about family. It's been about obviously the relationships, but it's also been, and we've talked about this with Luke and Vader, but at the end of the day, it really kind of boils down to love, right? It was the love for his father that ultimately allowed him to win his father over and convert him. And so going into the series and going into this last trilogy, and especially this movie, I was really hoping that we would get this message of love. And I think we got it here. Again, I don't necessarily agree with the way it ended. I think he should have lived in some way. And I think they should have allowed this Reylo to happen the way, people wanted it to happen and the way they showed it and displayed it. But I do think it's really neat and it is poetic in some way. Not to take, again, I'm not saying that him dying was okay because I don't like that part. But the idea that he set out in the very first movie to finish what his father started and to come full circle and be able to save the person that he loved, which is what Anakin was trying to do. And we saw this even in the comic books, even more recently. He was obsessed with trying to bring back Padme and save her life, and he couldn't do it. And he was doing it all the wrong reasons, which makes his character even more sad, to be honest. But the idea that Anakin was trying to bring back somebody from the dead and thought he had to use the dark side of the Force to do so. I do like the fact that it was Kylo Ren Ben Solo, who ultimately was able to save the person that he loved, but he didn't do it through the dark side. He did it through the light side of the Force. So I do like that aspect of it, and hopefully that doesn't get lost.
Well, there's two different things there, though, because Ben was doing it out of love in a sacrifice, where Anakin was doing it to keep both of them together. Because Anakin was obsessed. I don't think he was in love, and I get a whole bunch of flack for that every time I say it. So it was two different mindsets at the time. Like Ben was sacrificing because he loved Rey, and that was the right thing to do. And he wasn't looking for it in a selfish manner, like where Anakin was. And I agree with you. Yes, that's why he couldn't do it. Anakin had good intentions, but his intention was for me. I didn't want to let her go, and it was all about me and keeping the family together. It wasn't so much, just doing it because I genuinely care for the person or love the person. Well, of course, I'll get flack for that.
Yeah, I get it.
But that's kind of what I'm saying with that. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I definitely see that too, because I think you're spot on with how Anakin was. But anyways, the idea that, and then you take it back to Palpatine, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to live on forever. He wanted to unlock the secrets of mortality, and he did so through the dark side. And, I guess he got there sort of until the dyad came in and really did what he needed to do. But again, I think it hits home the point that, being evil sucks.
Well, it costs you a lot at the end.
It costs you more.
It costs you more than you want to pay at the end of the day, unless you're comfortable with it.
Yeah. All right. So him being at the very end, any thoughts there why he didn't show up with I mean, I know why, personally, my own opinion, but why didn't he show up there at the very end as a Force Ghost with Luke and Leia?
Well, supposedly, he's at peace. He was okay with it. Rey was at peace with him too. Like they parted on good terms, so to speak. So it was just her resolving stuff with Luke and Leia at that point. But
that's kind of where I was.
Yeah. However, I think it would have been cool to have mom and son there, and even the uncle there, kind of forgiving, because at the end of the Return of the Jedi, Anakin's there, and Obi-Wan and Yoda's there, and it's kind of like a peaceful moment of like, yeah, even though Yoda's got a weird look on his face, like this guy's here.
After all that?
Yeah, after all that, you're here, you get a free pass. I got issues with that. But, at least they're all at peace and they're kind of like accepting of what happened and now things are resolved in their terms. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been nice if that had happened. Of course, I think R2 should have been there and, all that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we've already talked about that.
Yeah, so, but, I don't want to rehash what I said earlier, but that I know why it was like that. I'm just going to leave it at that. But
yeah. I guess at the end of the day, did he deserve better than what he got?
No, I think it was fine. I don't have a problem with him dying, because it makes his sacrifice worth it. However, I think we needed more Ben Solo. Like we had those 3 other movies with Anakin, because before that it was Vader. We didn't find out until midway that this is whatever. It just felt more cohesive, I guess, with that. Like with Ben's story or Kylo's story here, it's a little jumbled and it's just a little weird. But I get why he died and he sacrificed, and I don't have a problem with it at all. And to be honest, I just wanted him dead from the get-go, but I was cool that Ben came back and it was done the way it was done. I feel better about it, but I get why people don't like it. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I'm one of those people. I don't think I think he did deserve better than what he got, but I
don't, because he was a murderous, mind manipulating and, all those other things. He was a piece of crap. But so is Anakin. So, as Vader. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I don't. Well, yeah, I don't.
I mean,
I don't think he was.
If he's
we're out of time.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, we'll just leave it. When we do this Ben Solo Kylo Ren breakdown, we'll bring all this up. So.
We'll bring all this back up because I think you and I are on different pages, and it's cool because I think I'm more subscribed to Katie's thing here now at this point.
I'm sure
he is the way he is because he's a product of manipulation and all that.
Yeah, but that doesn't excuse him from committing crimes and doing things.
I don't disagree with that at all.
So you still
I understand.
Held responsible for your actions. So, just going to leave it at that because Anakin, you could even make the argument now that Anakin was like that with Palpatine, with him putting the visions and, who the heck knows what Palpatine was doing now when you look at the prequels. When you go back and look at the prequels, you're like, oh, well, even Sidious is manipulating what Anakin's seeing, maybe even Padme's seeing and all this other stuff, which is interesting and cool if you ask me. But anyway.
Yeah. You are responsible for your actions 100% in real world life.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. There are plenty of things that I could go show my kids, say, look, here's what happens. Here's you can't get away from your responsibility and stuff. I don't think we need that in every aspect of our lives, especially a Star Wars movie with laser.
Look, I get it. Like
swords.
Like serial killers, right? They there's a lot of ways that they could go because of their upbringing or head trauma, this, that, or the other. But guess what? At the end of the day, you murdered people. You're responsible for these things. I get why you did them, but that doesn't mean that you didn't know right from wrong. You knew right from wrong. So sorry. You don't get a free pass.
But that's the real world, though. That's real world.
I get that. I get that. And this is fantasy, too. But you look at it from the galaxy's perspective. So Ben Solo is back and everything. I mean, it's just like with Anakin. If Anakin came back and he's wearing the white suit of armor, you think the galaxy's going to forgive him and be like, hey, no big deal. You get a free pass. You're not going to get charged with your war crimes. You don't think the people in the galaxy wouldn't have been mad? And from what we read, like with the aftermath and everything, Leia. They didn't forgive at all. So if you're going to play that...
She was trying to hide the fact that she was there.
Exactly. I'm just saying, if you're going to play that card of like, this isn't real life, but they were trying to portray it as real life in the aftermath and all that other stuff, well, then you have to say, well, he's responsible for his things and he's going to be charged for all this. I'm sorry. Well, I mean, he could have fell in love with Rey and they could have had a child or whatever and things lived on that way. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, you're sorry. I'm not giving you a free pass. That's just me. You can disagree with me. That's fine. I get it. I'm not going to hold it against you. Again, at the end of the day, it's just a movie, so not a big deal. But continue, sir. You were going to say something.
Oh, no. I was just going to say that, no, I get it. I get that I get all of that, honestly.
Yeah, I know you do.
The problem, the issue that I have is they didn't have to kill him, I guess is what I'm saying. He could still live on. And I'm totally cool with the storyline that says no one in the galaxy likes this guy except Rey. Or whoever, right? And they're all holding him accountable, and he's got a really tough time, and he's got to try to make amends and all that. I think that to me is more, that falls more in line with real world, I guess, more than anything. But
well, I mean, you can compare him to Bucky in the MCU, right? As Winter Soldier and all that stuff. I mean, he kind of was trying to atone for those sins. I guess you could bring that up, and apparently Bucky's cool with everybody these days.
Yeah, everybody's fine with it now. Yeah, even Tony.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, but to me,
all right, well, we'll pick that up.
Yeah, someday we'll argue with each other again over this.
Let's talk about. All right, well, I feel bad whoever's editing this show.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to be. He's going to need a drink after this. But
let's talk about the network.
Yeah,
Mando Monday, Chapter 8 Redemption. You finally wrapped that up. Are you going to do anything else with the show? What's going on with you now?
Well, I'd like to get season 1 overall opinion about it, like a show with that. I don't know if you, Jonesy, or I have a few other people in mind to come on and join me for that. And then I wanted to do a character breakdown of the Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin. Season 1 breakdown.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Season 1 breakdown. Not like, we don't have all this stuff yet to make a official breakdown, but a season 1 breakdown of him. And that's probably it. Maybe wait till we get a trailer or something in the summer or whenever we see that stuff. And if there's any news, I would jump in and do something. But for the most part, season 1's done, and that's it.
Okay. So check out Mike's Chapter 8 Redemption show. That's already out.
Yes.
And then look for these maybe some other shows here coming up soon. And then we'll Jonesy and I talked about getting you back on because I think we want to do a wrap up. And depending on how it plays out, we may do our own little wrap up of the season itself. But
I would like to. Yeah, you guys should do that. At some point. But go ahead.
And then the film appraisers have most recently, they've put out the Rise of Skywalker reactions. That was really good. I enjoyed listening to that one. So Josh and Joe kind of gave us their raw reactions coming out of the movie, and they're taking it from a more cinematic perspective, more of a cinephile.
Mm-hmm.
So there are, and both of those guys are well versed in the characters, and they can jump on the show at any time and do what we do here. So. But they do have another angle that they're taking here with how, certain scenes were shot and all that. And they really get into the story and expose a lot of things, both positive and negative of the movie. So if you want to hear completely different perspectives around, or at least two different people's perspectives around Star Wars and what the Rise of Skywalker, was for them, take a listen to the film appraisers and their most recent episode as well.
Yes.
All right. Shout outs on Discord. We've had, again, people just keep popping in, thankfully, thanks to the movie, but, Sir Fuente, Joed Fett, maybe.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
Finatorum, Crypto Town, and, Raining Blood, which I don't want to know, but those guys,
it's definitely a
or
Sith.
Girls. Yeah, definitely evil in some way, but, those guys or girls have all recently joined our Discord server. And hopefully you will at some point. So feel free to jump in there and make some friends, talk about Star Wars. It's a safe place to go and not feel, like people are picking on you or your opinion doesn't count.
Yeah, because we'll quash that real quick. I can assure you that.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. All right. Next week, Show's called All the Sith Palpatine. So we're going to do a Palpatine show. I thought about calling it All the Senate. We'll see. I don't know where we land on it, but we'll call it something here soon.
Well, it's basically the Mike Rondo breakdown. Is that what that is?
Rondo, yeah. But we're going to focus on Palpatine, at least in the Rise of Skywalker, but we may have to pull from other material as well, because I don't think we can have that conversation without talking about what came before. Yeah. So look forward to that. Mike, you'll be on that show for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully Jonesy will be doing what he's doing. If not, you'll get another dose of us doing that. So anything before we go?
Nope, we're out of here. Sorry for boring all of you.
No, it was a good show. So at least that's what I'm talking about.
Well, with you, it was a good show. With me, you know.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all in a week.
You're still listening? Wow. That's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.